A very warm morning to all of you, dear students. How are you all doing? Okay, you all are doing very fine. That's very good to hear. And let's start our today's class. Okay, right. So, can you see this picture? Yes, there is a link for you. You can also open this link and see. What can you see from this picture and from this link? Just tell me. Okay, you are telling that these roots are growing. Okay, these roots are growing. Okay, but students, have you ever wondered why these roots are growing? What is there that makes these root tips grow? Why these roots are growing out of this onion plant? Yes. Okay, so we will be studying about that thing only. We will be studying about the type of tissues, right, that makes this root grow, and that type of tissue is called as what? That type of tissue is called as the meristematic tissue. Okay, students? Yes, very good. Students, but before we proceed ahead, I just want you to focus upon which part of this onion root is growing. Okay, I'll just draw it for you the sake of simplicity here. This is inverted, right? Okay, so this part is connected to the onion and this part is going above, right? This part is going there. So which part of this root is growing, students? Okay, so it is growing in this region, right? Very good. Now students, you might have seen in this experiment that when we cut this root tip off, then what is happening? The growth of the root tip has slowed down, right? Isn't it? The growth of the root tip has slowed down. Very good. Now we have seen, I will tell you that there is a type of tissue here, and that type of tissue is called as what? That tissue is called as the meristematic tissue, right? Now tell me, if the growth of the tissue will happen if the tips are removed? Yes, right. It will happen, but it will happen very slowly. So we can say that the growth of the plant occurs only in a certain specific region. Okay, the growth of the plant cells occur only in a specific region, and you know the reason. The reason is that the dividing tissue is also known as the meristem is present there, right? And here in this case of onion roots, we can say that this meristem is present where? It is present on the tip of the roots, right? Very good. Now there is one question for you. I'll read this question out for you, then I'll give you 30 seconds to think about it, and then you can answer. Okay. So the type of tissues found on the tip of the root in the plant are called as what? I'll repeat again. The type of the tissues found on the tips of the root in the plants are called as, I'll give you 30 seconds to think about it. Right. So this type of tissue is called as meristematic tissues. Right, students? This type of tissue is called as meristematic tissues. Very good. Now, students, here you can see that there are some type of tissues present here, right? There is some type of tissues present here, right? And they are here also. So these are the locations of the meristematic tissue, right? This is present on the tip, this is present in between, and this is present on the sides. Right, students? Okay. Okay, so you can see from this picture only, the name is apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and the lateral meristem, right? And when we will see from the sides, we can see that this is the longitudinal section and this is the transverse section. In the transverse section, you can see this type of picture. Very good. Now, students, see here the location of meristematic tissues, right? So this apical meristem, this apical meristem, it is present at the growing tips of the stem and the root, right? This is present on the growing tips of the stem and the root, and the main function of this is that it increases the length of the stem and root. Okay, so this one apical meristem, where it is present? It is present on the tips of the stem and root, first thing, and what it does, it increases the length of the stem and the root. Very good. Now the plant, when you will see the plant growing, you will see that it will increase in height and it will also increase in girth. Okay, it will also increase in thickness. So the thickness of the stem or the girth of the stem or the root increases due to lateral meristem, right? You can see here, this is the lateral meristem, and the lateral meristem, what it does, it increases the thickness of the root and the stem. Is this one clear to all of you? Right. The next one is the intercalary meristem. The next one here, it is intercalary meristem, right? You can see here, this is the node, right? This is the main stem, and from here what you can see, these secondary stems are coming out, right? These branches are coming out, and these branches are where it is joined to the main stem or the root. This is called as the node, right? So it is present near the nodes of the plant, right? Understood, students? Is there any problem till here? No? So shall we proceed ahead? But before we can proceed ahead, I'll just quickly recap what we have studied till now. So till now, what we have studied that there is a tissue in the plant that makes it grow, and the name of that tissue is what? The name of that tissue is meristematic tissue. Very good. Right. And these meristematic tissues, these are of different types, namely the apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and the lateral meristem, right? So the apical meristem, it is present on the tips of the root and the stem, right? So apical meristem is present on the tips of the root and the stem, and the main function associated with the apical meristem is increasing the length, right? What it does, apical meristem increases the length. Very good. Now there are lateral meristems. The lateral meristem, you have seen that plants grow not only in height, it also grows in thickness. So to increase the thickness of the plant, the tissues that are required, it is known as what? These are known as lateral meristem. Another name for lateral meristem is cambium, right? Okay. Now there is one more type of meristematic tissue, and the name of that meristematic tissue is the intercalary meristem, right? These intercalary meristem are present near the nodes of the plants. Okay, students? Right. Very good. Let's proceed ahead. Right? So there is one question for you. Again, I'll read this question for you. Then I'll give you 30 seconds to think about it. Then you can answer. So which of the following is a type of meristem? Right? Which of the following is the type of meristem? The first option is apical meristem. Second option, lateral. Third one, intercalary. Or do you want to go with all of the above? Right? So here is your question, and I'll give you 30 seconds to think about it. Quickly think about it and answer. Okay? Right. So we have seen that the correct answer will be all of the above. The apical meristem, it is present where? It is present on the tip of the root cells or tip of the stem, right? This lateral meristem, it is present on the sides of the stem or the root, and it increases the girth, right? And there is one intercalary meristem, right? This intercalary meristem, what it does, students? Intercalary meristem, this is present where? It is present in the between the nodes, right? Okay, very good. So the correct answer will be what? The correct answer to this question will be All of the above. Right. Very good. Let's proceed ahead. So we have already saw this experiment, isn't it? In this experiment, what was done? In this experiment, we saw that the tips of the roots were growing, right? Okay, very good. So let's quickly see this video if it will play. Right, it's not playing, so no problem. I'll just tell you. So here in this experiment, what we have done, we have already saw that when we place this onion root tip on this, just touching this water, what will happen? The root tips will start growing, right? This root tips, this will start growing, right? But in this experiment, what we have done in this one, we have in second one, what we have done, we have just chopped off the end, right? And we can see that the plant cells, the root cells are what is doing, it is growing slowly, right? So we have already seen that it is a part of meristematic tissues, right? Okay, let's see about the development of the meristem. Okay, let's see about how the meristematic tissues function. So we'll see the properties of the meristematic tissues. Okay, there is one
Tissues are not differentiated into any specific
here is a picture of different types of meristematic tissues here, right? So all of the meristematic tissues are like same inside. Okay, it is having some properties. So I'll just let you see this picture, right? Here is the picture of this cells dividing, and from this cell, from this dividing cells, you need to like figure out what can be the properties of it, what can you see in this picture, isn't it? So who will tell me? By looking at look at it very closely. Okay, students, look at this picture very closely. I'll give you 30 seconds to just to look at this picture and find that can you see some properties associated with the meristematic cells. Okay, students, fine, right. Okay, so can you come out with some kind of properties of this meristematic cells? Okay, so first of all, you say that it is dividing. Okay, so you can see division, right? Another one, it is having dense cytoplasm. Okay, very good, students. Now let's look at the properties of the meristematic cells or the meristematic cell characteristics, right? So first of all, the cells of the meristematic tissue, these are very active. You know what you mean by active? It is rapidly dividing, right? The cells of the meristematic tissues are very active. They have the dense cytoplasm. You can see from this picture also that these cells are having dense cytoplasm, isn't it? You can see this dark blue thing. It is deeply stained. It is a cytoplasm stain. So you can see that it is a dense cytoplasm, right? And it has a thin cellulose cell wall. You might be able to see here if you look very closely that the cell wall is very thin, right? And they lack prominent nuclei. There is no presence of a prominent nuclei. Why? There is no presence of a prominent nuclei because the cells are actively dividing. They are dividing at a very fast rate, right? Okay, and also there is a lack of vacuole, right? There is no vacuole present. Okay, students, right? And let's see about another characteristic. The meristematic cells have potential to divide, right? These have immense potential to divide. Means 1 to 2 cell, 2 to 4 cell, 4 to 8 cells in in very less time. Okay, it is rapidly dividing. It is creating more and more cells, more and more cells. And when more and more cells will be created, then only the growth will happen. Isn't it, students? Yes, right. And for this purpose only, these have dense cytoplasm, thin cell wall, right? And for this reason only, these lack the vacuoles. Understood? Do you all agree with me now? What are the characteristics of the meristematic cells? Meristematic cells? Yes. So repeat after me, or you can tell me also. Right. So the first one is that these are very active. Right. The meristematic cells are very active. Okay. After that, we can say that these have a dense cytoplasm. Right. These have thin cellulose cell wall, prominent nuclei. Okay. And there is no presence of vacuole. They lack vacuole. Right. And we can say that since this is a very active cell, it is dividing very rapidly. For this purpose, these have dense cytoplasm, right? The cell wall is also very thin because the cell is dividing rapidly. It is creating 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, isn't it? It is creating 4 to 8, right? So it is dividing continuously, it is dividing rapidly. That's why the cell wall is very thin, right? And for this purpose only, it is not having any vacuole. Okay, students? So these are the characteristics of the meristematic cells, right? So now the question here is, what are the characteristics of the meristematic cells? Just take down your notebook and write it in your notebook. I'm giving you 1 minute to complete this task. Okay, students? Right. What you have written? Okay, you have written active cells, very good. Dense cytoplasm, lacks vacuole, very good. And actively dividing, very good. Right. It does not have a prominent nuclei. Right. So these are some characteristics, or we can say properties of the cells of the meristematic tissues found in the plants. Right. So let's move a little bit further. So we have come to end of our today's class, and what we have learned in our today's class, students? Yes, we have learned about the meristematic tissues in plants, right? We have learned about meristematic tissues in the plants, right? So let's answer some questions. Okay. So first is that why did the tip of the when we removed the tip of the onion root, right? Why it stopped growing? Why the growth like suddenly became very less? It was growing less. Yes. Okay. Right. So it was due to the meristematic tissues. There was a presence of what? There was a presence of apical meristem which was present on the tip of the roots. So what happened when we removed the tip of the roots, the apical meristem part got removed. And when the apical meristem got removed, then what happened? The growth of the root really slowed down. Right? Okay. Very good. So what are the three types of the meristem? Okay. So the three types of meristem are what? These are apical, lateral, and intercalary. Right? So these are the three types of meristem. Very good, students. Now tell me the function of the apical, intercalary, and the lateral meristem. Okay, so first of all, the apical meristem, it is present where? It is present on the tips of the growing roots and shoots, and the function is that it increases the length of the root and the shoot. Very good, students. The lateral meristem, it is present on the sides, right, and increases the thickness, right? It increases the thickness of the plants, right? And intercalary meristem, these are present at the nodes, right? Okay. So now list any three characteristics of meristematic cells that I have taught you today. Okay. All right. So the first characteristic, it is dense. The cytoplasm is very dense in the meristematic tissues, right? It has a very thin cell wall, right? And after that, we can say there is no prominent nuclei, right? One more is that we can add. Can we add one more? Okay, we can add that it is very actively dividing, right? So now comes your homework part. So in this homework, what you have to do, you have to prepare a chart showing different type of meristem, denoting their locations and the functions, right students? So you can perform this routine experiment at your home and share the result with us. Okay students? So that's all.